Good morning. Good morning, Rise Up team. Thank
Good
you,
morning.
Sherelle, for being here with me. I appreciate you. Today's training is we're going to talk about the sales process, and we're going to go beginning to end from a real life example of something that worked for me this past week. All right, it felt almost textbook the way everything happened, but you know, it works, right? So we're gonna talk about it. All right. So um the first step in the sales process, right, is you have to be prepared at all times to present your business card to meet and capture a client's information. That's number one. You have to be prepared, right? So here's what happened in real life. Um, Well, let me just go through the points and then I'll explain the real life situation, how it happened, right?
Okay.
So being prepared, right, means that you need your business cards with you at all times, either in your wallet, your purse, or at least in your car when you travel, because you never know. Always have your phone on you, which most of us do, and you need to know your elevator speech, right? You need to be able to present who you are, what you do, and sound like an expert within 30 seconds. Okay. Your elevator speech, it has to draw interest and present you as the expert right away. You have to sound like you know what you're talking about. If you don't memorize anything else, you need to have your elevator speech cold. Because if you stutter on your elevator speech, you lost it.
Mhm.
'Cause you know what I mean? Because you got one chance to make a first impression,
Exactly. Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So that's the one thing you have to have cold. All right. Um, as you're in this first opportunity, let's say you meet somebody at the dry cleaners or at in the store. Um, you don't want to come off like the pushy salesman. You just say, "Hey, Sherelle, what do you do for a living?" "Oh, okay, you work. You're a teacher." "Oh, that's nice. What grade do you teach?" "Oh, okay." Naturally, they're going to ask you, "What do you do?" Right?
Mhm.
"Oh, I for this is what I say. Oh, I own an insurance agency where we focus on life and retirement, right?" Or something to that effect. Yeah,
Mhm.
I own my own insurance agency where we specifically focus on life insurance, retirement planning, credit repair, and I'm also a notary. And they
Mhm.
say, "Oh, really?" Right? So in that short segment that I just said, right? And I'm giving you an abbreviated version. I let them
Mhm.
know that I'm an owner of an insurance company, so that establishes my credibility. I told them 3 or 4 services that I offer immediately,
Mhm.
right? And they can see, what my nationality is. So clearly, I'm a black-owned business,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and that'll work for some, but not for all,
Yes.
right? So you want to present yourself, right? And then you say, hey, listen, here's my business card. If there's ever anything I can help you with, please give me a call,
Mhm.
right? So they'll say, "Oh, thank you." They'll say something to the effect of, "Yeah, we should talk," or, "Oh, I've already gotten that taken care of."
Mhm.
Really? I'm glad. Who did you work with?
Mhm.
Be very curious about who they are.
Mhm.
Really? Who did you work with? What company? They'll say something, "Oh, I worked with somebody from New York Life," or, "Oh, I did it through my job." I love when they say they did it through their job because that
Yeah.
means they really didn't do anything.
Exactly. That leads to the in my opinion, it just leads to well, that's excellent. You covered through your work, but did you do anything personal as well?
Or I'll say, listen, that's great. I'm glad that you took a step forward. So what happens when you leave that job?
Mhm. Mhm.
You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
oh, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it like that. I'm like,
Mhm.
listen, that's great, but if you get a promotion and you go to another company, you lose all those benefits,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
or let's say you retire, or worse, you pass away after you leave the job. If you retire on Monday and you die on Tuesday,
Yeah.
sucks for you,
Mm.
right?
Also, I mean, what I don't know what's your opinion on this. I guess this is more question than remark. Like I always think to pivot that with just like, how how accessible is it? Do you know how accessible it is? Because
Right,
you always want to have something that's easily accessible. If your family has to go through a channel and delay your proceedings, due to not being able to access, how beneficial is that? Just to say you have something.
right,
So, let's work on doing something that's, set in stone, easily accessible, and there's no issues. I mean, of course, it goes by the client because it's a not one shoe fits all,
right,
So,
exactly. And then also, in that initial conversation, you may not go as deep.
mhm,
So you may just say, okay, that's great. This is what I do. If I can help you with anything, please give me a call. Great. And then just start talking to them. So how long have you been a teacher? Do you have children? You look
mhm,
try to look at their hands to see if they're married, you know?
mhm, mhm,
Stuff like that. Little cues will tell you a lot about somebody, and it'll give you reasons why they need to talk to you.
yeah,
So here's the real life example. So, Friday, my
mhm,
daughter just started school on Thursday, and on Friday, so Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we had to be at the school for different reasons.
mhm,
Wednesday was just an introduction for us to meet the teachers, some of the other classmates. So when we go into class, there's another black family there, the only other black family there,
mhm,
in at least in her classroom.
yeah,
And in my mind, I'm always thinking I'm going to talk to them,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
That's just how my mind works. I'm going to talk to them. At some
mhm,
point, I'm going to start a conversation.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Because as a salesman, listen, you have to farm and you have to hunt.
Exactly.
You
Yep,
know what I mean?
yep,
And this was a scenario where I was hunting, right?
yeah,
I spotted prey and I said, I'm going to talk to them, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
the next day, I see the wife outside the school when I'm bringing Naya to school because they had to take some exams. So I said, hey, how you doing? Such and such. My name is Joe. We formally introduced ourselves. So then I was putting my daughter in the car. We started talking about the school. She was putting her daughter in the car because now they're in the same class.
mhm,
And while she's doing that, I go grab my business card,
mhm,
right? So I presented like, hey, listen, this is my card. My cell phone's on here. So if we ever need to communicate with somebody about the school,
mhm,
um, here's my information. You can send me yours. That way we both know what's going on. Oh,
mhm,
by the way, this is my business card. I own an insurance agency where we do life insurance, retirement planning, credit repair, and I'm a notary. Just like that.
mhm,
Is oh, she looks at my card. She says, I've been thinking about looking at my life insurance. I said, really? I said, okay. I said, listen, we can set up a time to talk, sometime within the next week. And
mhm,
we'll just go over a couple of options. Then from that started a whole conversation. I said, what type of insurance do you have?
mhm,
She's like, oh, I've had it since I was 21. Yeah. And
mhm,
so I assumed that she was closer to my age.
mhm,
Like I'm 40. I just assumed that she was in her 40s. Right?
mhm.
You could kind of tell where people are at. It's harder with certain cultures because black don't crack.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if you just live a really healthy lifestyle, you're gonna
Mhm,
look younger than what you really are.
yes.
So I just assumed she was close to my age, right?
Mhm.
And I was right. She's literally born the same year as me.
Wow, cool.
But she's older than me by like I think like 8 months or 9 months.
Mhm,
Same
okay.
age group. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So we start talking. Yeah, I've had it this long or such and such, but I bought it then when I didn't really have a family and I didn't do this and that and the third. I
Mhm,
said, okay. I said, well, let's review it because now you're married, you got a daughter in school,
yeah.
you have a lot more responsibility. So let's take a look at it. Cool. I said, you know what? Give me your phone number, and then I'll call you and set an appointment, right? Got her information, got her email, got home. I called her like 2 hours later,
Mm-hmm.
right? But my call that for the 2 hours later say, hey, look, I just wanted to get you on the calendar for sometime in the next few days so that we can go over it. This is just quick. We're not going over anything right now because I know you weren't expecting my call.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go through it.
Yeah.
So we set an appointment for yesterday, Labor Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I sent the message to you to the group yesterday. Like, listen, Labor Day is a great day to reach people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being self-employed
Yeah.
and in our business, we need to be available when everyone else is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always look at holidays like Labor Day, Memorial Day
Yeah.
as work days for me, at least
Yeah.
in the morning,
Yes, for
at
sure.
least in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where I'm either going to run an appointment or I'm going to spend an hour or two just setting appointments,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this is an opportunity for me to reach people who are normally not available during the day.
Exactly.
And if I'm not trying to present business right away, I just want to get them on the calendar,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that way I can find out
Mm-hmm.
when they're going to be home
Mm-hmm.
and we can do it.
Yeah.
So I call them, I have my calendar in front of me. I know what I have and what's blocked off,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you got to keep your calendar updated so you can just move forward, right? Move forward with exactly how you need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, so I went into the part two, but that was actually part two where you
Mm-hmm.
capture the client's information and set up the appointment, right? You want to set up that appointment within 24 hours of first meeting them because you don't want them to forget you, right? If you meet them on the weekend, you definitely need to call them on Monday, right? I usually don't call people on Sundays because that's a day that I try to spend for my family,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I will take an appointment on a Sunday if I have to, because
Mm-hmm.
some people, their schedules may not permit them to talk during the week. I've taken appointments at 10 o'clock at night because they may work a certain shift and they don't get home till 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. It's the nature of the beast,
Exactly.
right? So you want to make sure that capture the information, call within 24 hours, make sure you put them on the calendar. And this is a process you have to continually do because if your calendar is empty, your pockets are empty. And that's just the simplest formula that you can ever think of, right? Empty calendars, empty pockets. If you got a full calendar, you'll have full pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to step three, right? This is actually at the appointment or the day of the appointment, right? If the appointment's at 1 o'clock, I always try to shoot a text to them a few hours ahead or sometimes a day ahead, say, hey, just confirming we're still good for 1 o'clock, right? If they don't respond within a certain time frame, now I'm calling you. Hey, just reminding you we got a Zoom meeting at this time. Okay. If they don't answer, I can usually assume they're not going to make the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
If they answer, then I can assume that they will be there, right? Or they'll reschedule, right? Because things happen, life happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is if they're willing to get back on the calendar, even if they have to change, then hey, it is what it is, right? Because remember, in that first meeting, you don't want to sell insurance, you're selling the appointment. Don't try to sell insurance right off the top because some people don't understand it. Some people don't see why they would need it. You
Yeah.
don't understand what their needs are.
And it's too much of an umbrella to
There's
just
way too many things.
just drop in product and all this stuff, like, and people get stuck. I don't like to talk product at all until I know what arena I'm in with the client, because when you could just hypothetically speaking, I guess to say, you can, mention something about a term just in an example, and they'll get stuck on that term and that term price
Right.
because it's the easiest way out,
I don't
so
even, right. And
you
that's the
don't.
perfect way to do it. I don't even discuss any type of product until I know exactly what their goals are.
Mhm.
Everything is a concept.
Yeah.
You want to make sure your kids have money for college? Good. You want to pay off your mortgage? Good. You want to make sure that your spouse has money? Good. Do you want to use your insurance to build wealth? Good.
Exactly.
Now I know where the conversation's going,
Mhm.
right? And that's part of knowing the products that you have.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that you understand that. And good morning, O'Neill. Thank you for tuning in with us. Um, so number one, be prepared to meet, capture a client's information, right? That's having your business cards and everything. And number two, when you capture their info, set up the appointment. Within 24 hours or on the weekend, you want to make sure that you call them on Monday to set up that appointment because empty calendars equal empty pockets, right? Number three, right? This is at the appointment and running the appointment, right? When they get on the call, thank them for taking the time to sit with you. I understand. Listen,
Show
Sherelle, thank you
appreciation.
for
Mhm.
jumping on this call with me today. I really appreciate the fact that you took some time out just to talk to me. Um, all I'm going to do today is I'm going to present information to you. Um, so there's absolutely no pressure for you to buy. I don't want you to feel like this is a pressure situation. We're just going to go through. I'm going to present information to you. And if it makes sense, you can move forward. If it doesn't, great, because at least you got information to think about for later, right? That right there, I've used that all the time and it completely disarms any pressure, right? If they know that if they have in their mind they don't have to buy right away, then they're more likely to at least listen, right? Because most people think of salesmen as used car salesmen in high pressure, right? Now, in reality, you're going to ask for the business, right? But if they say no or they're not ready, it's okay. Because your main goal is to run the meeting as with precision so that you come off with the expert, you sound like you know what you're talking about, and you're presenting information to them that could really help them, right? If you do all of those things, then you are much more likely to get the sale. All right. So this is how when we run the appointment. So again, this will be like 3A, right? Establish there's no pressure, right? And then 3B, you want to establish yourself as the expert by giving them some history, right? Give them some work history, some successes you've had in the business while you're in the business, right? So this is how it worked for me this weekend, right? I set up the appointment with the client. I met her Friday morning. I called her Friday afternoon to set up the appointment for Labor Day, which was yesterday. When we got on there, she told me her husband was going to be there and her daughter was there, right? I acknowledged everyone. I acknowledged her husband. I acknowledged the child too. I said, your daughter's beautiful, right? People love to hear you compliment their kids, right? The daughter was beautiful. I'm not lying about it, right? But you want to say something like your daughter's beautiful, or let's be honest, not every kid is beautiful. Don't lie to them, but say something like, oh my God, your daughter looks just like you,
Mhm.
you know, because
Joe, you can't help yourself, can you? You just cannot help yourself, man. I swear, you be going down these pipe holes. Leave it alone, brother. Leave it alone. All God's creations are beautiful.
Amen. Amen. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Got a face a mother only a mother could love.
There you go. There you go. I'm trying to find a lighted area. It's so dark in here.
It's all good. I thank you for being here. Um, back to this. So 3B, establish your history. So like I said, when they got on the phone with me, I started to tell them about my work history. I said, listen, they say, well, how long have you been in the business? I said, oh, I've been in all sorts of finances since 2004, right? I started off I said, I actually started off as a telemarketer back in 2003. By 2005, I became a mortgage broker. And in 2007, I went to the retail bank, working for Washington Mutual, and then which was later taken over by JP Morgan Chase. Right. I said there I spent 10 years, and part of my progression working with them, I started out as a personal banker. Side note, Cheryl, O'Neill was one of the managers when I first started in banking. And that's where we met. And he thought I was terrible.
Oh, wow.
But he was right. I was at the time. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I had some sales.
You're gonna start telling that story differently, man. You're gonna start telling that story differently. I didn't think you were terrible.
It's okay. He just needed some work. And obviously he got under the right guidance because he's here now and you're here, O'Neill. So it worked out how it was supposed
Absolutely, absolutely.
Praise God. Right? So anyway, like I said, that's where I first met O'Neill years ago. So I worked in the bank. I started out as a personal banker. Then I progressed into small business banking. And then I progressed into Chase Private Client, where I work with clients with assets of 250,000 or more within the bank. From there, I transitioned to HSBC Bank to work their version of private client banking, with a focus on international banking. Right. After that, I transitioned out of the bank and began on into the advisory world in 2017, which is where I am now. There I went from New York Life. From New York Life, I transitioned into Allstate Financial. And then last year, I decided to step out on faith and start my own agency. And since then, it has been the best decision that I've made. Right. And that's how I established my history as an expert in the financial field. Right. Because I established that I've been doing this for a long time, that I've worked on multiple levels of finance. And now that I'm a business owner, people tend to respect what you have to do. Now, for you guys, technically you're not owners, but what you can say is, listen, I'm one of the lead salesmen of Rise Up Financial Agency, or I'm a team leader at Rise Up Financial Agency, because as you guys start to build your own teams, you will be, right? Speak it into existence, speak it into existence, because if you don't say it and if you don't believe it, then it ain't going to happen. But if you're saying it, then it's going to happen, right? So that's 3B, tell them your history and establish yourself as the expert, right? After you establish yourself as the expert, and before you present ideas, ask them what they specifically want to accomplish during that meeting. They say, listen, during this meeting, I have ideas and different ways that I can help you. But honestly, what I really want to do is figure out what your goal is from this meeting. Like, what specifically do you want to accomplish during this meeting, or what is it that you specifically want to protect, or vice, whatever it is. And then they'll tell you how to sell them business. They'll literally say, oh, listen, I want to make sure that if something happens to me, my kids have money. My spouse is able to keep the home. I can pay off the mortgage, or I'm looking to build wealth, right? They will literally tell you what the goal is. Now that you know what the goal is, as long as you know your products, you'll know how to help them move forward, right? Okay, great. So you want to make sure that you're building a little wealth, but your main goal is you want to make sure that your kids have money to go to college, right? Okay, great. So now you're going to start with profiling them, right? As you profile them, this is when you're going to gather more reasons that they need insurance or whatever it is they want to go, and more reasons as to why they need to help you, right? So you can either take it out, write the notes on a sheet of paper, or what have you, right? So my client, right? Let's just call her Mrs. M, right? Because this is recorded and I don't want whoever plays this back, I don't want them to know who the client is for safety reasons, of course. So Mrs. M, she works at Capital One. And I said, okay, Mrs. M, so let's start, going through the process. We're going to determine how much insurance you need. I'm just going to ask you a few quick questions, and then this will give us an idea of where to start. Okay. Then she naturally said, okay, great. I said, what is your annual income? Her annual income, 70,000. Okay, great. I said, let's say you had passed away yesterday, right? If you had passed away yesterday, how many years would you want your husband or your kids to be able to maintain their lifestyle, right? Because you and your husband work together, your income and his income work to maintain your household. How many years? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how many years. Okay. If you don't know, that's fine. Generally, my clients usually say anywhere from 3 years on up to 10 years, right? Does 3 years, is that enough? Or is 10 years? Do you want to max it out? If she says, I don't know, okay, let's just start with 5 times your income, 5 years, right? So that would be 70,000 times 5. That would give me 350,000 need, right? Do you have a mortgage? Yes, I do. Okay. If you were to pay off your mortgage tomorrow, how much is your mortgage? Her mortgage was 275. Okay, great. Do you have student loans? Yes, I do, but I've been paying them down, so my student loans, I only have about 10,000 left. Okay, that's great. All right. So now we got an idea of what we're looking at, right? So I said, you have a child, um, and I know that she's young, but when she does go to college, do you think you're going to send her to private school or state school? And here's the reason I'm asking that, right? Most state schools over a 4-year period will cost you about 100,000, right? Private schools over a 4-year period probably going to cost you about 200,000, right? Don't answer for them. Just say, listen, this is just an idea, so we know. Most people are going to choose state school when you actually throw the numbers at them. But hey, you may come across somebody wealthy. Oh no, she's going to private school. She's going to Harvard. Or she's going to Princeton. Okay, great. So you got one child going to, in this scenario, she said state school. So one child's 100,000. 3 children, 300,000. Very simple overview of how much it's going to cost, right? So now I added everything up, 350 for her income, 275 for a mortgage, 10,000 in student loans, and 100,000 for her children's schooling, right? That came up to 735,000. She said, okay. I said, all right, so there's multiple ways we can get to this to the 735. I said, but this is a potential need of how much insurance you would need, right? This is just potential. You can do more, you can do less. It's totally up to you. I'm going to show you how to do it. And she already had a whole life policy from a previous company, right? She got this policy when she was 21. She's only paying $50 a month for a $250,000 policy. She says it's a whole life, but honestly, I don't think it is because that's a little too cheap. Because when I quoted her daughter, 250,000 was almost 100 and some dollars a month. So I believe she has a term and doesn't know it. We have a follow-up meeting for me to review it, right? But in any case, she thinks she has a whole life. I said, okay, I'm going to show you the different options. Do you understand? Do you know of the different types of insurance? Yes, some clients do. No, some clients don't. Okay, great. Let me quickly explain the different types of insurance. Term insurance is basically renting a policy. It's a lot like owning an apartment. You sign up for the policy or you rent your apartment. On day one, you get the keys. And as you're leasing this apartment, you have a limited number of years that you can have this policy. Great. Okay. Just like leasing an apartment, you can have it for 1 to 2 years. A term insurance policy, you can have it anywhere from 10 years on up to 30 years in most cases, right? So you're leasing the policy for that time period, right? But just like an apartment, at the end of your lease, you got to give the keys back, right? So you don't keep the policy after that time. You give the keys back. And you win because you didn't die, you actually outlived the policy. So that's the win-win situation, right? But unfortunately, with term, there's no cash value. Then you have permanent policies, which are a lot like buying a house or a condo. A whole life, traditional whole life, is a lot like buying a house, right? You buy the house, your payment is set in stone, and you'll keep the house for the rest of your life, right? Um, it'll earn cash value, which in owning a home is considered equity. Um, the payments never change, which is like a mortgage. And as long as you continue to pay your monthly premium, this policy will stay with you on up to age 120, should you live that long, right? Basically, your entire life. But it is, because of all these guaranteed benefits, it is the most expensive up front, because it gives you the most benefits on the back end. Okay. Then you have universal life, which is highly customizable. It's a little more complicated, but it's a lot like owning a condo, right? You don't necessarily own the building, but you can control what happens within your unit. So in this scenario, the policy should stay with you the rest of your life. It's usually designed to stay with you to your life expectancy, which for men is about 85. I mean, women it's about 85, men is about 82, right? Can it last longer? Yes. Could it not last as long? Yes, because the cash value options that you have within universal life are flexible, right? So it's a little bit of give and take. You don't get the guarantees, but it's also not as expensive as whole life. So essentially, you're just giving up some guarantees for the options of flexible cash value growth. That's how universal life works, right? I said most clients, 95% of my clients either go with term or whole life. So let me show you a couple of options, right? Now, for this point, as a great sales tactic, right? Always show the most expensive option first. I'm going to say it again. Always show the most expensive option first, because she needed 735,000, right? I show her what a whole life payment's going to look like for someone in their 40s, for a whole life. That payment was almost $800 a month for that much insurance. She was like, "Oh my God." I said, "Okay." I said, "Yeah, it is expensive, right?" I said, "Let me show you some other options." So I showed her a term policy, right, for 30 years. That term policy came out to be $145 a month. That seemed golden. It was like, oh, $145 a month versus $800 a month. Yeah, this is nothing. I like this idea. I'm sure you do, man. Right? But she didn't like the idea that it was temporary. I said, okay, let me show you what a combo looks like, where you have part of it as a whole life and the rest is term. We could do 200,000 as a permanent whole life policy, and we'll add a term rider for the remaining 500 and change. Showed her what that number looks like. It was almost $300. Definitely more affordable, but still a little bit out of her budget. But she liked the idea, right? I said, listen, at the end of the day, you have options with the term because it has a rent to own option. You can take this term policy, and within your first set number of years, let's say 15, 20 years, you can convert this to a permanent policy later. It's not going to be the same price as the term because whole life and universal life is more expensive, but it does give you the option to purchase later, and you don't have to qualify again. So even if you develop cancer or something else that is detrimental to your health, because you already own it, you can keep this policy for the rest of your life when you convert it. Okay, that sounds great. So then at that point, I say, okay, so we went over this information. This is when you're closing, right? We went over this information. We're covering your family, your husband, your child, your student loans, your mortgage. It seems like we got everything within, that you wanted to accomplish, and it seems that it's within your budget. Would you agree? Yeah, I think this is good. Okay, great. All I need is your license information and your bank account, and let's get started. Wait in silence. After you say, let's get started, wait in silence. Because an old sales rule is the first person to speak loses. If they just stare at you, you sit in silence for 30 seconds, you sit in silence for a minute, you wait for them to respond, right? So O'Neill, this policy looks great. It looks like it's covering all your needs. And some point later, you do have the option to convert, either all or just some of it. And I think this is a great policy for you. Let's get started. I just need your license information and your bank account.
All right, Joe, let me go ahead and get that information for you.
And that's exactly how that works. That's exactly how that works. They may ask some more questions, and this point is when you get into your rebuttal phase. Oh, I need to talk to my husband. Oh, I need to double check this. Oh, I need to double check that. That's fine. Listen, that's fine. There's with these applications, there's no money coming out of your pocket today, but we do have to capture your information just to know that you're serious, right? What we're going to do is put your information in the system, because depending on your health, if you're in good health, this price could be cheaper. Okay, great. Let me get your license and your bank information. Oh, and I need your doctor's name as well. Start the application, right? Now, what I do is I use my what do you call it? I use the paper application to capture the info very quickly, right? Because I don't have them sit on the phone while I'm trying to enter it into the computer, right? So this sheet, which I've sent to you guys before, right? Let me hold this up so you can see it. Yeah. All right, it's not showing. Let me take off the virtual background. Let's see. Right. So this is the sheet right here, right? Just a blank version, paper application, right? It has pretty much everything that you would need to put in the application, right? Some stuff you might have to fiddle through, or you may have to take more notes on the back. That's fine. But you could take an application very quickly with the paper version. Some people, listen, this is my process. You guys can adjust it to how you want to do things, right? I'm just showing you my best practice, right? So when you ask for the business, and as I say, when you're waiting in silence, you're assuming they're going to say yes. You're not going to say anything like, do you want to move forward? You're not going to ask them, does this work for you? You're going to say, look, I think this product works for you. Let's get started. Can I have your license information and your bank account? Or you could just say, look, let me get your license information, right? Start with that. Start filling out everything. And at the end, oh, let me get your bank account information too. 9 times out of 10, they're going to give it to you. Sometimes people question it. Sometimes they don't. But you're prepared because you know your rebuttals, and you're prepared because you know what's needed. And that's exactly how this worked. And my client yesterday, As I said, I met them Friday, set the appointment for yesterday. We wrote the policy. $144 a month. You know, and let me do the math, where's my calculator? It comes out to what, 1,600 a year, roughly? I'll tell you right quick. So 144 times 12 comes out to 1,700 a year, right? We're gonna times that by 0.7, right, for 70%, $1,200. That's $1,200. 1209 to be exact, 1209 to be exact. So I made $1,200 on 2 conversations. That's how much money can be made in this business, right? Now, obviously, not every scenario is going to go that well, but that's the power that we have, so that we can make money and help people, right? I'm getting paid $1,200 for this policy. She's getting life insurance to cover her entire family. And you know what else? She said to me she's going to refer me her entire family because her brother, her parents, her cousins, none of them have insurance. She said she's going to make sure that they all get it. That's amazing. That's amazing. And on the back of this sheet, right, I have a thing that next time I see her in person, I can say, listen, put their name, phone number, and how you're related to them or how you know them, so I can call them. You don't need to sell insurance. Just tell them I'm going to call them. You can tell them what I did for you if you want, but you don't need to. Referrals, business. And that's pretty much it. That's the training for the day. I want to get some feedback from you guys. Tell me what your thoughts are, how you can implement this into your own training, and then let's go from there.
And again, Joe, I apologize for I'm just not having a good space that I could be in right now. I'm hiding out in a back closet. So
All right.
could you just give me 1 second, please?
Okay.
So in terms of the training, I think it was a very comprehensive overview. There's some like best practices that I use that works for me. I think one, in terms of verbiage, that I ask customers, so you always want them ask them stuff that they could relate to. One of the questions that I ask is, tell me, so what keeps you awake at night?
That's good.
Right?
Yeah, that's
So
good.
it's all about having a conversation. So that starts a conversation. Tell me, when you say your prayers, kiss your kids good night. What keeps you awake at night? What's on your mind? And they'll tell you everything from the bills and what bills, to the future and what they want in the future, to their job. So you're collecting these nuggets and you're not saying anything. All you're doing is putting them in your back pocket for future use. So instead of, asking, tell me about your bills, they're just going to tell you about their bills. I like to keep it more open and say, hey, tell me everything.
That's it.
Because down the line, that might come and play for financial counseling, so that's another route that we could go. That might open the door for, health or long-term care, or, something, down the future that, what you have those notes that when you do a follow-up call with your client, those are things that you're going to be mentioning back to them.
That's good, bro. That's good.
I definitely think that I'm gonna say that just general conversation, getting away from the robotics, that definitely opens the door for more information that you'll receive from the client, just letting them talk. not asking so many questions sometimes. I mean, of course, it depends on the client because you have to pull some people, but most people, once you get them comfortable, the world is yours. They'll tell you everything, just out of the comfort that they have. So it's just about being on point, taking those notes because they drop everything, really, just in general conversation most of the time.
Good. These are good stuff. As
I
far as
think the part where, I'm sorry, Joe, I think where a lot of new agents struggle is the closing part where it's now, may I have your driver's license and bank account? Let me tell you, bro, I would say maybe higher than 50% of new agents struggle with that. So I don't know if you have any tips, or I think, training like this definitely needs to be revisited with new agents.
Mhm.
Is how do we help the new agents with that closing? Because you could go through the whole thing, do a wonderful job, and guess what? You don't ask for the business,
Yeah,
or you end in, so what do you think?
Mhm.
And
yeah,
that's their closing. So that whole, may I have your driver's license and bank account like the bank account information, people get real uncomfortable with that, like, well, you need my bank account information. So a lot of people don't ask for that. What tips do you think you could recommend? Or maybe, we could, give me 1 second. Maybe we could go around the certain, and see what tips would work.
Do you mind if I answer that, Joe?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Well, no, I think really it's about working with the mindset of the person that is executing. Everyone has a different mindset when it comes to this business. Some people won't ask because they are intimidated by feeling like a salesperson. So these are, in my mind, you guys might disagree, but in my mind, these are the people that you have to train to understand that they are not salespeople. They are confidants, they are trusted partners, they are assistants in the financial journey. Because really, I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, we don't really sell something, we provide something. Because when you sell something, it's final. Sales are final. This is not a final sale. You get something back, you always have a chance to upgrade, and you're growing, you're progressing. So this is, I mean, in my mind, I could honestly say this is not a sale, it's business. It is business, but it's not a sale. Because it's not final. We always have a reason to go back. There's always an upgrade, once again. So it's just about working with the mindset of the salesperson, because if they think if they don't want to be a salesperson and they're trying to veer from that, it will always be that conflict when it comes to that part. But if they can incorporate it in their preparation of their appointment, in their speech or whatever, as far as just be aware and understand that if this is something that you want to go further with, know that we will need personal information, and then you can drop what personal information you would need from them, possibly. You muted on there.
Oh, great point. Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Cool. Yeah, because I mean, it's like, it's just about the feeling, at the end of the day, like they tell us when we first get into this business, we have to believe for the client to believe. So, it is what you feel and what you think and how you go about executing it. So yeah, once you get into the mindset of the person, the rest is just, working around that.
Sounds good to me. Sound like we got some professionals on this team.
We are learning from the best. We are learning from the best.
Listen, I'm just in position. I'm not, I don't consider myself the best at anything. I'm just in position to help you guys. And everything I learned, I just share it.
Mhm.
I learned from you guys just like you learned from me. So I hope this was encouraging, to say like, look, this is how quick it can happen. Right. This wasn't a client that I met previously. I met her Friday morning because and let me tell you, I did not look like a financial advisor when I met her. I had on my Crocs, I had on some red sweats and a black t-shirt with a stain on it. Right? Because I know. I just ran out the house to pick up my daughter from school because they told us one time, and then they called us like a half hour early, and I really wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
But I had to pick her up, so I just bolted out the house looking
Got
a
it.
hot mess. Right? She was there, but she was dressed in similar clothes. She looked like she just ran out the house too. So it worked, right?
And it might have been great timing for that, because think about it. If you approached her in a suit, she might have shied away because she felt uncomfortable,
Because she
because
felt
she wasn't in
uncomfortable.
the right attire, you know? So,
Uh,
I mean, it worked how it was supposed to, you know,
yeah.
divine intervention.
The main thing was I was prepared.
Hmm.
And that at the end of the day, that's the biggest point, is that I was prepared because I had business cards in the car. I went and grabbed one. I put my daughter in the car while she was getting her daughter in her car. I grabbed the card. I said, I'll be right back. Went, gave her a card, elevator speech, got her information. I called her like 2 or 3 hours later, set up the appointment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one thing I can say that I do do a little different in the process, and Joe, we've discussed this, is the card part. I just, as a way to cut out a couple of those steps, as far as, you know, once we exchange that, I have to get their information and things like that. So I just kind of started doing, I call it digital card. And it's just, it sounds better than what it is. All it is that I'm gonna text you my card, but that's, you know, to me, that's a way to continue conversation. You know, that's a way to not have to ask for their information, because now we've already exchanged it. You know, I've texted them my card, I verified the phone number, you know,
Right.
and I can touch back, you know, and also I also I don't approach clients just as a client, because, you know, we also know that for us, word of mouth is our way of, you know, getting
No,
things
absolutely.
across. So, you know, I also offer people, even if they're like, you know, not right now, I also offer just a sit down for their understanding and comfort of what I do. So when they refer me out, they're comfortable with who they're referring, you know?
Right.
As far as just knowing the business ethic, or even just knowing what they're referring, because sometimes people will refer you and they're referring you to somebody that wants car insurance, you know? So it's like, so now you have to be that guy that knows the guy, you know, just to maintain some kind of relationship, or some kind of something connection. So yeah, it's just about, I try to, you know, go that route, because it keeps the communication open. And then, like you said, they don't want to feel pressure that they're having to buy anything. So if I'm just offering you a free sit down to have a big picture of, you know, a broader picture of what you're trying to do financially, you know, to understand it, to be able to refer it out, people usually don't turn that down either.
Right. That's selling the appointment, not insurance.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
that's literally what you should be doing, right? You don't want to sell insurance when I first meet you.
Exactly.
Listen, I just want to sit down with you, right? I'm going to share you some information, and hopefully you like it. And if not, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I at least gave you the information. You could even pass it on to somebody else you may think would benefit.
Yeah.
All we're going to do is talk for a half hour, and that's it. I'm going to lay out all my cards on the table. Sell the appointment. That's the best way to do it,
Yeah.
right? And I like how you said, listen, I'm going to text you my card, you know, and I'm glad, you know, I have done that before, right?
Mhm.
Because now you have to give me your phone number so that I can send it to you.
Yeah, yeah. And then people, like, you know, think about it, because I know I've done it. Someone has given me a card, and I really don't take cards unless I'm interested, you know, because it's like, being in the business, I understand how it feels, you know. So
Mhm.
I'll only take the card if I'm really interested. But there have been times where I've lost that card when I was ready to, you know, indulge. It was like I couldn't find it. And then I couldn't go back to the person to get done what I wanted, because I couldn't remember anything. I didn't, you know, because when people take your card, they rely on the fact that they have your card. So they don't have to remember they don't even have to remember your name in their mind, because it's on the card, you know? So if they go back to look for it, it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know? So I just felt like just seeing how people sometimes they'll take your card and then you'll see it on the ground 2 seconds later, or you know, so it's like, you know what? We're gonna combat all that and I'm just gonna text it, you know? If they really want it, they'll go to the text. And so I just
That's
do
it.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, so listen, I mean, this has been really, really productive. You know, I'm glad that we were able to kind of go through all of it and really get an idea of, you know, the different sales processes. I'm glad I was able to share my process with you guys, so you can, you know, develop your own process for how you want to do things as well, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all here to work together. That's what Rise Up is about. That's what NLB is about, right? But this is our team. This is the home team, right? I want to make sure that we, you know, that we blow the hell up.
Exactly.
You
In
know what I'm
plain
saying?
English.
You know what I mean? I want our team to literally blow all the way up because it can. Because we absolutely can. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to. There's no reason. It's not like we don't have the talent. Both of you have already been successful in your own right. Sherelle, you made it at New York Life for 3 years. 90% of people don't make it that long at New York Life. So
And
that tells me you know what you're doing.
and I just got a call Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a call Friday. So I made Agent of the Month in June. I also made Agent of the Month last month.
Look
So
at that.
I didn't even realize, but yeah. So I'm like, okay, it's time, you know. I can, you know, do some things.
That's what I'm saying. You know
What
what I mean?
office were you in, Cheryl?
I'm sorry.
What office were you in?
Tyson's Corner.
She's in Virginia.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, O'Neill and I are here in New York. She's from New York.
Yes, I'm from New York,
She
but I've
lives
been
in Virginia.
here about 20 years, you know. I moved for the children. But you know, New York is my home, as you can see. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I think that's what really intrigued me about the company New York Life. It was like you know, just having that slice of home, that New York in there, you know. I'm like, and just how things went so well, you know, at the company. It's like this is where I belong, I'm home, you know. When I first got there. That was what it seemed like, you know. But yeah.
So look, let me just share something with you guys real quick. I'm gonna send it in Telegram. Tell me when you see it.
I don't know where my sleep thing is going.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, this is. I love it. I love it.
That is cool.
Now, when you guys, you know, when you guys are ready to establish your own social media pages, then I'll
I
just change.
apologize, guys. 1 second.
And Joe, I have to actually jump off.
Okay. All right. Listen, I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna stop the recording anyway. And I'll just stick around if there's any other questions. But thank you for tuning in, man. I appreciate you. And I sent you an email this morning as well, just to kind of go through everything that we were trying to get done before, so that we can get you in place.
All right, I'll take a look at that.
All right.
All right, I'll follow up with you.
Yep. No problem.
Yeah, I'm all done. Yeah.
All right. This is the end of the training for the sales process, the beginning to end. It was a real life example.